Hi, today I want to talk about a proportion wheel. And thank goodness there's ladies out there, and men too, who like to make patterns. It's a talent I don't enjoy, so thank goodness they're there. But what do you do when you have a favorite pattern that fits a large doll and you want to make it smaller, or a small doll and you want to make it larger? Well, this is a tool that will help you. The way this works is it spins. It's got two little wheels on it. The inside wheel is the original size. Say it's a 16-inch doll. The outside wheel would be the size that you wanted to go to, say a 14-inch doll. So the way this works is you find the 16 on the inside wheel. Here it is. And you find the 14 on the outside, and you line the two up. So there's the 16 lined up with the 14. I hope you can see that okay. And what that tells us is the percentage that we need to increase or decrease. In this case, it's decrease because we're going smaller. So we want to make a copy that is 87, basically 87% of the original. Now, if you wanted to go larger, you would line up the 16 with, let's say, the 18. Can you see? 16 and 18. And then we go over here to our window, and the percentage would be 100, and that's about 111, maybe 112%. So that makes it real easy to take your original pattern and go to your copier and key in the percentage and enlarge it. And that works pretty good. You can get into trouble with this. And let me show you. This is a pattern for Elwyn Wild, and it has a yoke that goes up here. That's why the top is funny, but here's the arms and everything. I'm just using this as an example. So I took and made a copy of this, and I drew in the sewing lines. That's what this red line is. And normally our lines are 1/4 of an inch. And you can see that's 1/4 of an inch. For a 16-inch doll, that's what this pattern is. So let's say we wanted to make it down to a 14-inch. So we'd go to the wheel and find out that we needed to decrease it to 87%. So I copied that pattern at 87%. Now here's where you might get into trouble. Look at the seam allowance. It is less than 1/4 of an inch. Not by much, but a little bit. So if you had a dress that had seams on the side, you might be okay. But if you had a dress that had seams on the side, plus maybe it was a princess line, so you had seams in the middle, or not the middle, but the side middle, you could have like 6 seams. If you had a back seam, there's another one. So every time you have a seam, it adds twice that distance. So if you're still sewing a 1/4 inch seam, it may not fit quite right. Let's go a little smaller. Okay, this one I decreased to 76% for a 12-inch doll. Now the seam is really different now. It may not seem like much, but it will make a big difference. Now let's see what happens if we go up. Here's a pattern, and I increased it for a 20-inch doll. Whoops, I just moved my gauge. Now, see how big that seam is? So it's really not going to fit very well. So the answer is either cut off your seam allowances before you enlarge it and then draw your seam allowances back in, or make note. So this is a seam allowance. You could just go in and draw your seam allowance like I have here, and then change your seam allowance to the 1/4 inch, and then you would cut on the inside of that line. I hope this is clear, and I hope this helps you. Also, I'm going to put a link for the proportion wheel. It's really handy. Everybody ought to have one in their sewing kit. So happy sewing, ladies. Bye now.